swear that life is beautiful. Would you let me in? No.
Catalina is an island off the coast of Southern California. The island resides in the Pacific Ocean, approximately 29 miles southwest of Long Beach. Catalina is approximately 38 miles from Laguna Beach, California. One of the Native American names for Catalina Island was Lemu. This similarity in names no doubt helped fuel the notion that Lemuria was somehow associated with Catalina Island. According to some theories, Catalina stood as a portal on the eastern edge of this lost continent. There's a theory involving the existence of giants, which was corroborated smoothly on Catalina Island due to Ralph Liddon's alleged unearthing of the remains of humans measuring between 7 and 9 feet tall during his archaeological excavations in the vicinity of Catalina. These giants, according to the theory, would have played the role of the guardians of Lemuria and, as such, would have been stationed in places like Catalina on the periphery of the continent. Originally inhabited by the Gabrielino Tongva Indian people around 7000 BC, the island was captured by Spain in 1542, later taken over by Mexico and then the United States. Catalina Island was long used as a base for various nefarious activities, including smugglers and otter poachers, until it was eventually turned into a tourist resort by tycoon William Wrigley Jr. in the 1920s. In 1896, the Glidden family came here with their teenage son, Ralph. Initially, Ralph Liddon was interested in carpentry, but then his interest in Native American artifacts began to grow. He started looking for remains of ancient Indian culture on the island, including Indian burials. After he accidentally discovered an ancient Indian skull just by bumping into a piece of bone in the sands, he became obsessed with this activity. He soon became an amateur archaeologist who began excavating Indian burials on Catalina from 1919 to 1928. So during these excavations, he allegedly discovered 800 secret Indian burials and many Indian artifacts and relics, as well as thousands of bones. These bones and artifacts were mainly sold by Ralph Liddon to various museums and collectors. When William Wrigley Jr. bought the island in the 1920s, he banned the sale of bones and artifacts, declaring them the exclusive property of the Field Museum of Natural History in Chicago. However, the Hay Foundation, to which Liddon had previously sold a large number of such remains and relics, contracted the museum to carry out all excavations on Catalina Island, and it was able to take first place in this activity, which allowed Glidden to continue excavation without restrictions. So according to him, these skeletons belonged to people ranging in height from 7 feet to 9 feet in height. Glidden got information from somewhere that these giants were fair-haired and blue-eyed people. His statement ignited widespread media interest, and the following was written in one of the issues of the Ogden Standard Examiner on November 10, 1929. It states, he, Glidden, claims irrefutable proof that a light-skinned, blonde-haired, and very intelligent race of great stature lived on Catalina Island off the southwest coast of California, perhaps 3,000 years ago, and that his excavations have uncovered a huge cache of skeletons, domestic utensils, urns, wampums, shell beads, etc., a completely unusual class of Indian things. He found the skeleton of a young girl, apparently of high rank, and a large burial urn surrounded by the skeletons of 64 children, and over 3,000 other skeletons were found in various parts of the island, almost all males, averaging 7 feet in height, one 7 feet high, 8 inches from head to ankle, and the other is a whopping 9 feet 2 inches in height. Oddly enough, Liddon's statement about the discovery of the skeletons of giants was not the only and not the first in the area of the Channel Islands. There is information that back in 1913, a German doctor named A. Ferdinand discovered on Catalina Island a human skeleton 8 feet tall, which was found among unusual artifacts, including a flat stone with strange, unrecognizable symbols. This particular skeleton was allegedly found in hard black sand in the Gulf of Avalon and reportedly mostly disintegrated when brought to the surface and exposed to the air. Only the skull, jaw, and foot were left of it. There's also been a later report of excavations on the nearby island of Santa Rosa, which in 1959 allegedly unearthed several 7-foot tall skeletons with skulls painted red, double rows of teeth, and 6 toes instead of 5. On another of the Channel Islands, San Nicolas Island, there was also where numerous above average human remains were found, believed to have belonged to a mysterious race other than the local Indian group, which is of quite normal human height, considering that many of the alleged giant skeletons of Catalina Island were alleged to have been buried in a ceremonial form in elaborate urns. Glidden suggested that the locals worshipped them as gods. Some of the bones from Glidden collection appear to have been shipped to the University of California and the Smithsonian Institution, but these institutions have reportedly denied having such specimens in their collection when they were asked about it. At the time of Glidden's discoveries, Hollow Earth theorists speculated that one of these portals might be located on Catalina Island and that it was the local giants that were tasked with guarding the gate. This idea was so pervasive that several expeditions to Catalina were undertaken by so-called voidlands in the 1920s, but it is not known what, if anything, they found. At the end of his life, Glidden himself sold his entire collection of artifacts and skeletons to someone for only $5,000 in 1962, and in 1967, he died at the age of 87. There is a lot of UFO activity in and around Catalina, especially underwater UFOs, like USOs, unidentified submerged objects coming in and out of the water. Here are some experiences that were reported. Andrew Fell wrote, "This body of water lies between the coastlines of Southern California and Santa Catalina Island, 20 miles offshore to the southwest. The area has, for at least 30 years, been the scene of UFO reports of all kinds. Surface sightings of hazy craft which cruise leisurely in full view of military installations, aerial spheres bobbing in oscillating flight, gigantic cloud cigars, and at least one report of an underwater UFO with uniformed occupants." On July 10, 1955, around 11 a.m., several fishermen off the coast of Newport Beach observed a bluish-silver, cigar-shaped object flying overhead at a moderate speed and medium altitude. 2.5 hours later, a Washington family of 3 are sailing 13 miles off the coast of Newport Beach on their way to Catalina Island when they observe a perfectly round gray-white craft about 2,500 feet above their boat. When the object maintains its position over their boat, they radio the Coast Guard, which sends out a plane. The object darts away before the plane arrives. In 1970, as investigated by Bill Hamilton, an anonymous gentleman sailing from Catalina Island to San Pedro Harbor observes a metallic saucer with 4 hemispherical pods underneath it, lying only a few hundred feet above his boat. On July 28, 1962, the captain of a chartered fishing boat notices lights floating in a stationary position in the water about 6 miles south of Catalina Island. Upon closer observation, the captain is startled to see what he assumes at first is a Russian sub. It appeared to be the stern of a submarine, he says. We could see 5 men, 2 in white garb, 2 in dark trousers and white shirts, and 1 in a sky blue jumpsuit. We passed the beam at about a quarter mile, and I was certain it was a submarine low in the water. Steel gray, no markings, decks almost awash, with only its tail and an odd aft structure showing. Suddenly, the submarine heads straight for the fishing boat as if to ram it. The captain makes an emergency turn as the sub moves past them at a high speed, emitting no noise and leaving no wake except for a good-sized swell. The captain contacts the Navy, which is unable to positively identify the sub. UFO researchers Coral and Jim Lorenzen hear about the case and speculate that it may have been a UFO and not a submarine. The high speed, lack of wake and sound, and the huge swell make this object suspect. One might also mention the odd shape of the submarine itself, its lack of fear of observation, and its aggressive maneuvering. October 1968, George Heiner is fishing in his boat off the eastern end of Catalina Island, where he spots a white dome-shaped object through his binoculars. As he watches, the object rises 10 feet above the surface of the water, then descends and rises again. He notices a strange parachute-like device beneath the object, which greatly descends and then sinks beneath the waves. In 1967, two 11-year-old boys experienced an episode of missing time while on their parents' boat in Avalon Harbor, Catalina Island. Years later, one of the witnesses, Paul Nelson, a pseudonym, goes under hypnosis and recalls that he and his friend were abducted to an apparently underground base where they were examined by praying mantis-type ETs. I was taken into a round-walled room. It seemed to me more underground than it did on board a ship. The walls had kind of a rock-like facet to them, rock-like walls rather than craft-type walls. It gave the impression that I was in a cavern rather than a ship. It was more of an underground feeling. Following the examination, the boys are returned to the boat with no conscious memory of the abduction. With so much underwater UFO activity in one place is undeniably unusual and strongly points to the possibility that there is an underwater UFO base.
Cosmic eyes, beautiful, burning bright. We will all explode into miracles. It will blow your mind, and we'll ride with you to feel it, drive a deep dive. Ride with you, yeah. And we'll ride with you to feel it, drive. Suffering grows, yeah. They say that life is beautiful, but you let me in, no, yeah. They say that life is beautiful, but you let me in, no, yeah. Beautiful till it all burns out. We're like falling stars, miracles dancing on the ground. And we'll ride with you to feel it, stride to deep dive. We'll ride with you, yeah. And we'll ride with you to feel it, stride to deep dive. Suffering grows, yeah. They say that life is beautiful.